Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, guys. This is Emma here. I've got Nick Cortina with me as well. We're gonna go ahead and get started at about 11:02, so everybody hang tight and we'll get started in just a few minutes. Okay. Good morning, everybody. So first and foremost, per usual, if you guys could go ahead and type a Y or a yes into your questions pane so I know I'm coming through loud and clear and that everybody can see my screen. Okay, great. Sounds good. Wonderful. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Emma. You guys are, if you've ever been to a lab, probably familiar with the voice, but I've got with me here my colleague Nick Cortina, and we'll be presenting today on ExpressView. So, we've got a bit of a fun, more simple lab today, but definitely informative nonetheless. And I'm very excited to present it to you all today. Right off the bat, I would like to mention, as stated in the email blast that went out for the sign up for this lab, the content presented on today's lab is specific to version 2017.1, and some of the functionality won't be available in earlier versions. Some of this functionality is available in version 2016.3, but the full extent of the lab is exclusive to 2017.1. So I just wanted to make that clear right off the bat. It's still fun to watch it, even if you guys aren't on the most current version. It'll give you an idea of what you can look forward to upon updating. So let's kick it right off, shall we? Today we're going to work on a complete overview of ExpressView, and we're going to put a little bit of an emphasis on visualizations and what you can do with them there. So of course we're going to start with our little slideshow to give you guys an idea of what we're looking at. So let's go ahead to the next slide. What does ExpressView do? So ExpressView is going to allow us to create a quick and easy view of our data. And it's also going to open up reporting to a group of users that might be a little bit uncomfortable with data structure and really understanding how everything's working behind the scenes or under the covers, if you will. And this is really going to abstract that data layer away from them and allow them to still create a view of their data quickly and easily. So that's really the point of ExpressView, but like I said right off the bat, there's quite a few things that we can do from that starting point, and I'm going to be illustrating quite a few of those today. So what can we do in ExpressView as well? What does it do is different from what can we do, right? So what can we do? We can start by adding individual fields. So for those of you who are familiar with any of our other reporting designers, they all start with adding categories fully. This asks your users to know what fields are contained within each category. So in ExpressView, we've allowed you to add fields individually so that you don't need to know what category they're contained in. And I'll illustrate that in just a moment. I don't want to spend too long in this overview, but certainly to give you guys an understanding of what we're going to be touching on. And then using the Radial menu, which if you're not familiar, we'll get to in just a moment, you can easily group, filter, sort, or remove columns individually. And again, we'll go ahead and really dive into that once we get into Exago here. So on today's lab, we're going to gain knowledge on how to create an ExpressView from scratch. We're going to learn how to apply themes to that ExpressView, both the tabular report and the chart. And then using the Radial menu, we're going to learn how to filter on a given field, create multiple levels of grouping. We're going to create a visualization and then modify its appearance. As I mentioned, apply a theme. And then we're going to also modify the data being charted for that visualization. And we're going to filter the report and visualization to top and bottom fields. So as long as no one has any questions right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to Exago. And we will get going here. All right, so here we are. Great. So I'm in Exago right now. Make sure you guys can all see my screen. I'm getting a thumbs up, so it looks good. I've created a new ExpressView. You can see from my tabular up here. And I'm going to go ahead and just start dragging some fields over. So first and foremost, as we mentioned, ExpressView is unique because you can add individual fields without adding the entire category. So this is going to allow us to create a faster view of our data, right? We don't need to understand where they're coming from. We can just start clicking and dragging. It's a very easy to use interface. We can also search if we're not sure where exactly our category is located, or our field, excuse me, or maybe we just don't want to go through the pains of searching for it through here. I'll go ahead and drag over a couple more fields here, and then we'll really get into the Radial menu here. Great. Okay. So you'll notice that what we have here are dummy values, right? We haven't queried the data source yet, and it's really reminiscent of a data dump. We can easily create something like this, right, in Excel if we'd like to. But here's where the magic happens. Next to each field, you'll note this Radial menu. And via this Radial menu, you're going to be able to group, filter, sort, or remove each column individually. So I'll go ahead and group by employee last name and then group again by category name. And Exago creates that inner grouping for me really nicely and easily. I'm also going to illustrate the filter option here. So on last name, I'll go ahead and click to the right. And I'm going to do is not one of as my operator here and just select a couple of these employees so we can really see how this filter is going to work for us there. Great. So I'd next like to draw attention to the automatic aggregations at the end of each grouping, right? So there's going to be aggregate information at the bottom of each inner grouping, as well as at the bottom of each outer grouping. So you can see that the green matches up here with the last name. I'd also like to point out these sticky headers here at the top. They'll be a little bit more evident when I do query the source and flip on live data here so that we can really see what we're looking at. But just wanted to point that out there. And then of course we can click on these aggregations and change them, right? And again, we're abstracting away the formulas necessary to calculate each of these aggregate values from your end users. So this is going to tell me that I'm getting a count for quantity, but it's not going to give me the entire formula, the ag count of order details dot quantity. It's just going to tell me, okay, we're going to count the quantity for you here. I'm going to switch my revenue to a sum. And I have all these options here. And then maybe I want an average for my unit price. And I can very easily select the aggregate information that I'd like to see there. And you can see that they do persist throughout the report. Great. So the next thing we can do is show or hide group content as we wish. So you can see that this is a fully expanded view of our data. We've got all of our detail information fully expanded out here, as I said. And what I can do is use this group button to either show all group content, which is what we're looking at now, or hide it all. So if I hide it all, we'll just see our summary information. I'm going to go ahead and flip this live mode button to query the data source, and then we'll see what the true difference is here between seeing summary information and expanding out that group content. So we're now showing live data. You can see that Buchanan and I believe Callahan is the other that I selected in the filter are not being shown here, is not one of Callahan or Buchanan. Done, so that's acting as we would expect. And then if I show all group content, we can really see those sticky headers and how they help us understand what we're seeing information pertaining to. So I'm going to pause here, see if there's any questions so far. We've covered how to build up an ExpressView. As I said, couple of clicks, it's very simple. We covered some uses of the Radial menu and how to view your live data, as well as compression of detailed content within groups. So I'm just gonna take a quick moment to check out those questions, as I said, make sure we're doing all right. So we did get one question. Is there a way to see the formula if we want, just for learning's sake? And that's completely understandable as well. We are going to touch on this at the end of the lab, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do so, but you can actually convert this report to an advanced report, in which case that cell would be populated with the formula. So if you were to create this in ExpressView and then convert it to an advanced report, you would be able to see what formula is working behind the scenes there if you'd like to. Additionally, the number formatting is the next thing that we're covering. So I love that question. It's leading us right in the right direction. So I'm actually going to go ahead and move on, as our questions seem to be geared towards where we're going. So I'm going to go ahead and move right along here. But I appreciate you guys being on top of your game, clearly paying attention. All right, great. So what I'm going to do here is open up this formatting and style menu, right? We've again abstracted everything from your users, so we just have this easy to use menu over here. Oops, sorry about that. So you can see that my revenue is already formatted with a currency symbol appended, as well as 2 decimal places. And this is because in my culture settings in the administration console, I have named revenue as a currency data type. So it knows to automatically append that $sign and the 2 decimal places. But this unit price one is not. This is simply taking general formatting. So what I can do here, and I'm going to go ahead and do this number formatting first since it was brought up as a question. But if I go to this data format tab, and you can see I have this this column of data selected. Currently, its format type is general. And if you guys have watched any of our basic trainings that go through the Advanced Report Designer, we go into the fact that general formatting takes the data format, checks the metadata, and then uses our best guess to format it as we think you guys are looking for. This here is simply an integer, so it doesn't know that it's a currency. It just knows that it's a number. So what we can do here is format it as a number. This is going to allow us to select the number of decimal places and also append that currency symbol. Here I can edit the currency symbol, the thousands separator, maybe my decimal place symbol for certain culture settings, but I can also do this right in the administration console, so my users don't need to modify it here. This is all up to you guys how you'd like to do this, but of course we can do it at the report level as well. So now we've formatted this column of data, but you'll notice that the aggregations are still not as we'd like. So same idea here. We're going to go ahead and switch it to number and just append that currency symbol. And we can do the same thing here. Since we're taking an average here, you saw that that was quite a long line of decimal places there. That's going to be a result of the average aggregate function. So changing this to a number format can really clean that up quite a bit. And that's going to persist throughout the report. You'll see that this next one has the same formatting applied to both the unit price column as well as that aggregate information at the bottom. Great. So I'm gonna back up a little bit. We have some theming options here. I did mention that I would touch on this. I'll choose that blue-gray that we're all pretty familiar with. We've used this quite a bit in our labs and within Exago trainings as a whole. But it very nicely formats my entire report. It's going to go ahead and change those radial menu colors for us, as well as some row shading and etc. And I can go ahead and alter that if I'd like to really, even from within a theme, alter my row shading colors or my grouping colors. I think these two menus are pretty self-explanatory. Again, you're going to have this selector to choose from, as well as the option of entering a hex value. That's going to be the same throughout the application, so no surprises there. If there is any questions, of course, feel free to write in, but I would like to go ahead and get to the visualization options that we're going to have in ExpressView. All right, so I'm going to turn off live data just for the purposes of illustrating this. I want you guys to keep an eye on this grayed out button here. This is going to be our visualization button, but the first thing we have to do is add a visualization. So I can go ahead and click this button to show. All right. So what Exago is going to do here is create the visualization that it's pretty sure we want to see based on our data and the way our data is structured. So currently we see a multi-series chart created with employee last name as our X values, and our series values are category name. So this is going to correspond directly to our groupings here. We've got our outer grouping of employee last name. That's going to be our outer grouping here as well. And then our series values of category name as our inner grouping there. We'll also note that as soon as I clicked this button, Show Visualization, this menu popped up for me right off the bat, and it's no longer grayed out, of course. It knows that now that I'm working within visualizations, this is probably what I'm going to want to edit next. So I can go ahead and use some of these options to change the type, data, or appearance of my chart. So as Exago is creating this based on what it thinks I want to see, taking a quick peek at my detail information, everything there, it knows that maybe you want to alter some things. So first and foremost, I can change the type. Maybe I want a stacked bar chart rather than just a standard multi-series bar chart there. So I can go ahead and change that. My data column is going to allow us to alter, or my data tab, excuse me, is going to allow us to alter exactly what is being charted. So we're going to call these labels and values in the ExpressView designer. The labels here are going to be first employee last name, as you see, and then category name. We can switch these around as we'd like. And then values as well. It's currently charting the quantity, as quantity is the leftmost of my detail rows here. But that's not what I want to see. I would rather see the sum of the revenue, so I'm going to go ahead and select revenue there. And now it is charting the sum, as that's the aggregate we've selected here. Great. So finally, I can affect the appearance of my chart as well, much like I can report. In this case, I'll go ahead and add some titles. So maybe I want to call this employee sales by category, and I'll give it an x-axis title and a y-axis title based on what I'm actually charting there. I can change the appearance of the data, and then I can also change some styling options here, including theming. So maybe I want to match my chart to my report, choose that blue-gray theme. Very easily can do that as well from down here. Wonderful. So now we've created our chart and we've matched it nicely. Everything looks great here. We selected what we'd like to see and how we'd like to see it. I'll go ahead and turn on live data once again so we can really see what we've created here. Great. So again, we're now showing live data. You can see that same detail information below that we saw before, same groupings, etc. But now we have a chart to graphically display our data as well. Note that the filter that I placed on the tabular report persists on the chart as expected. Just wanted to point that out. I can go ahead and move my chart around. Maybe this is really all I was going for, and I just created the report so that I could get to this visualization. So this is going to be a super easy view to only view that chart. For the purposes of the next illustration, I am going to append it to the top. And I think this is a super cool functionality here, but we actually have automatic drill downs in ExpressView. So what I can do here is select any bar from my chart. Maybe I want to see, I'll use a better one than that. Maybe I only want to see King beverages. So I can go ahead and click that, and my detail information will only show me information for King, and then beverages and that detail information. And that's all that's the detail is now going to consist of, because we're filtering it down to only show this drill down information. I can compare as many or as few as I'd like. And now we'll see King beverages as well as Suyama beverages, so on and so forth. If there's any questions there, of course, feel free to type them into the chat. I think it's fairly self-explanatory. But again, the takeaway point here is that we're really abstracting the underlying data structure away from your users. These automatic drill downs are a pretty significant step in ExpressView. All right, so I'll pause for one more moment, make sure that all the questions are going okay, and then we'll move on to the last piece of our lab today. As I said, pretty simple lab, but I think it's a fun one. Definitely enjoying presenting it for all of you. Great, looks like we're doing pretty well here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into the last part here, and this is really the coolest thing, so definitely don't hop out early. Great, so the last thing that I'm going to show you has to do with this filters tab over here. So we've looked at the standard filter menu, and we know how to use that. It's pretty straightforward. But what we can also do, and I'm so excited, as I've said, to show you all this, the other functionality available here is called top and bottom N. So if I click this, I can go ahead and display the top N number of values, or you saw I could select any of that aggregate information. So I'm going to go ahead and do the top 5 of employee last name here. And you're going to see everything filter so that I only see my top 5 employees for the charted value, and that's going to be revenue here. What I can then do is, so here I'm seeing, right, the top 5 employees. What I can do here is, rather than show the top 5, we can show the top N of something for each employee. So maybe I want to see, I'll add a group. I'm going to turn off live data so that it stops trying to update before I'm done with my editing here. But I'll do the top 5 categories per employee. And then if I turn on live data again, we're just going to see those top 5 categories for each employee. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for each employee there. There's more ways that you can use that top and bottom filter menu, excuse me. Those are 2 of them I wanted to illustrate for you guys today. as I said, you can switch this around, show whatever you'd like there. Very cool functionality. If, of course, continue to type your questions in if you still have some. The final piece, the conclusion of the lab, is going to be those options that I mentioned at the top regarding a question that we got. So you can save this as an ExpressView. Maybe you just want to save exactly what you've created here, and you want to save it in this ExpressView designer. So I can go ahead and give it a name, select a folder, and save that as such. Easy peasy. I'm going to have the same export options as I have in the rest of the application. So I can go ahead and export to Excel, PDF, RTF, or CSV there. And then I can also, as I mentioned, create an advanced report from this report definition. So that will show me all of the styling and the formulas and etc. that went into this on an advanced report. So for learning purposes, this is certainly something that can be taken advantage of. But additionally, if you get to this view and then you find that there's something you want to do that does require the advanced report designer, go ahead and convert that, or rather create a copy of it, and then you can continue to manipulate your data as such. So that concludes the informative part of the lab. I would like to mention that the next lab is going to be information regarding user preferences and how to store them via server events. It's going to be presented by Travis, known and loved around here. We all know Travis pretty well, so I'd like to just want to give a little shout out to the next lab that's going to be in 2 weeks. And definitely tune in there if you have any interest in learning about those user preferences and how to store them there. So we'll stick around for a little bit, take those questions, make sure we get everybody happy and all set. It looks like Nick's doing a great job on the questions. And as always, happy reporting, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. I was really excited to show today's lab.